Good morning, everyone. Good morning. This is Jason, and I'm here in South Korea. Another beautiful Friday here, man. Just another great day. Great day to be alive. Great day to just be able to appreciate life. Starting my day off, getting ready, getting my daughter ready. Made her breakfast, made her some lunch that she can have at school. Dropped her off at school. Then I went and met up with one of my boss that I'm doing work with for this construction project here on base. And now I'm heading to Incheon to go do a supply run for my side business. But today I want to talk about a question that came up in my on a comment that I asked on my last video that I posted. And the commenter asked if I could talk about safety in Korea, and sure. All right, so before I will talk about safety, I want to say this. I am from New Orleans, Louisiana, in America, of course. New Orleans, Louisiana. And right now, New Orleans is, I guess, labeled or ranked as one of the top cities for homicide, right? Now, I grew up in New Orleans back when, No Limit and Cash Money Records was, the hot stuff across the world at the time, right? That's when I grew up in New Orleans. And even back then, it was still safe relatively, but you still knew what to do, what not to do, so you can make sure you ensured your safety. Now, I say that to say this. Before I talk about Korea, I think a lot of you need to understand this. Nowhere in the world there is zero crime. Right? Crime happens. There's probably some places where it's not as frequent, so it may feel like there's zero crime, but crime does happen. Like, for example, recently I was out with my girlfriend, and we was at a wing stop, and it is a bar too, but we was ordering wings. We was waiting for our wings, and a Korean gentleman who grew up in America, and he repeatedly informed me that he lived in Compton. Whoop-de-doo, right? So I was like, okay, cool, no big deal. I didn't antagonize the guy. I didn't, nothing like that. Honestly, we didn't even warrant any type of conversation towards him. We actually didn't even give this man no attention. We didn't even know his existence was even there, if that makes any sense. Because he was there, I gotta see this. He was there with his friend at the bar, just like, we was like, okay, whatever. Nobody knew the guy. So the guy came over, and uninvited, by the way, came over, tried to hold a conversation with me, my girlfriend, and me trying to be a respectable person. I kind of like, okay, hey, whatever, because he kept trying to say he's from Compton. So that is one thing that will happen, especially some people. The thing you will encounter, especially being black, and probably other races too, I'm gonna say, being a foreigner, and you go into another country, if people from that country are interested in you or your particular demographic, they will come up and try to hold a conversation with you about something that they think you can relate to, because they think it is something that you will like because it came from where you come from, if that makes any sense, right? Now, the one thing that a lot of Koreans in particular don't understand is that America is a very big country. America is not like, for example, in Korea, you ask a Korean where they come from, they say Korea or, Seoul. And when they ask me where I'm from, I always say I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. And they're like, where's that at? And I got to remember, okay, they don't understand that in America, most people represent their city and state first. Country, comes later, but other people, they like, oh, I'm from Korea and this and that. I just naturally like to say I'm from New Orleans, but now I just say from America. But anyways, when you encounter certain people like this gentleman that my girlfriend encountered at the wing shop, he felt the need to tell me he's from Compton. Once again, full-blooded Korean man, not mixed at all. He actually was born in Korea, but he moved to America and lived in Compton by his own choice, whatever. And so he saw me here at a wing shop, a wing bar in Korea, and he thought, oh snap, I see a black dude. I'm gonna go tell this black guy I lived in Compton. Once again, what did I tell you? I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana. New Orleans, anybody who knows, New Orleans and Compton are two completely different two completely different areas that has black people. Black people from Compton aren't the same as black people from New Orleans. Like, black people from New Orleans is not the same as black people from Compton, right? And that is one thing that you will encounter, where a lot of people like to group all black people into one pot without understanding the fact that we are not the same, right? Especially in America. There is about 50 million black Americans in America. In South Korea, there's 51 million Koreans. Let that number, think about that. There's 1 million more Koreans than there is black Americans, right? And even in Korea, some Koreans view themselves different. If a Korean lives in Seoul, they don't think they're the same as a Korean from Busan or a Korean from Incheon. They think, no, I'm from Seoul, right? Which makes sense. I understand that. But being black, they automatically just group you all into one group. So anyways, I digress. So he wanted to tell me he's from Compton. I said, okay, cool. I said, we're in Korea. Trying to hint that it don't really matter that you grew up in Compton. We're in South Korea, right? So then he said it again. I said, hey, look, okay, cool. I'm from New Orleans. Congratulations, you're from Compton. Then the guy made another statement, and I said, hey, look, where I'm from, that statement you made is very offensive. So now the whole time I'm trying to keep, trying to politely hint that, hey, I'm not looking to have a conversation with you. I'm trying to enjoy my night with my girlfriend. Now, here's one thing you have to understand. Some people here and some Koreans here do not understand nonverbal cues. So sometimes you're going to have to be direct, but you have to be careful with how you are being direct, because they might take your directness as being mean or defensive, or mean or offensive, because they don't understand the nonverbal social cues, or the read between the lines, because they're not that well. Then it's just something they don't get, right? So in me, I'm a big guy. I'm 6'3", 350 pounds, right? So I have to be extra careful with how I say things and how I move, because just my physical appearance alone can be, scary to some people. But this guy, he grew up in Compton, so I'm assuming he understands when black people, or people in general, because I know there's not just black people in Compton, when people in general are not trying to have a conversation with you. Now, let's keep in mind, the gentleman was drunk. I could tell he was already drunk, because he's been there. He was there before we got there. He was at the bar drinking and eating some wings. So I took that into account as well. So another reason why I was trying to de-escalate, or try to give him some subtle cues that, hey, we're not looking to have a conversation with you. So then after I told him, hey, the statement you made is considered offensive where I'm from, you shouldn't do that, especially for somebody who quote unquote said they lived in Compton. You should know better. So then he said, I'm from Compton again. I said, okay, cool, congratulations. My dad and uncle, they grew up in LA. They knew about the Crips and Bloods culture as well. Whip-de-doo, congratulations. So after that statement, the Korean gentleman from Compton, I guess he felt some type of way, and then his whole demeanor changed into his whole demeanor got stiff, and leaned in towards me as if he was signaling he wants to do something. Once again, I'm 35 years old. I've been in situations that I know how to handle. Anyway, I humored the guy. I said, hey, no big deal, dude, just chill. And then he was like, hey, do you want to see something? I was like, what? Now mind you, here he's standing up. My girlfriend and me, we're sitting down with our back to the bar, facing this gentleman, trying to, hint to him we don't want nothing to do with him. So after he asked, do you want to see it? He decided to show me. He raised up his shirt, and when he raised up his shirt, on his belt there was a holster and a metal handle coming out the holster. Now the metal handle looked like a tool, like a wrench, whatever. I was like, what? You walking around with a carpenter tool on your hip? So the guy went to take out the thing I could assume was a tool, and what happened was the Korean gentleman he sharpened the tool down into a shank. And when I say that thing was long, it had to be about, I want to say, about 4 inches that he made this tool into a shank. 4 inches, metal. So, once again, growing up in New Orleans, doing combat sports, being in very dangerous situations in the past, I know how to handle it. I say, okay, hey, I always do this. I always show the palm of my hands, because when you show the palms of your hands, that's a non-aggressive signal, that makes any sense. But what people don't understand is, just because someone shows the palms of their hands, that does not mean you can't do damage with those hands, because you can. It's just signaling, hey, look, the initialness of just showing your hands like, hey, I don't want no issues, that's supposed to signal to the person, okay, cool, dude, you're all right, you got that, fam. But your hands are up in front of you, so if they do come at you, you still can defend yourself. That makes sense. So non-aggressive posture can quickly turn into a defensive posture if you need to. But the initial response you're trying to signal by putting your hands up, hand palms facing whoever seems like they're aggressive, is to show that person, hey, look, I don't want no problems with you. Go about your business. And in a subtle, non-verbal way. So the guy, he put the knife up, and when he secured the knife in the holster, I dealt with him accordingly. Anyways, I say that to say this. I've been in South Korea since 2013. I have not left. I've been stationed here since 2013. That was the only incident in my whole time here where I encountered such a situation with a deadly object, right? Now, growing up in New Orleans, I dealt with situations, or almost got involved in situations, way more frequently than that, right? So I've been in Korea for 10 years, and this happened like 2 weeks ago. In my 10 years in South Korea, I only had to deal with one knife incident, right? And then even then, I know how to handle it, because even though this gentleman says he's from Compton, he ain't really take all the full courses, because, hey, that was all I'm gonna say. But anyways, I taught him a very good lesson after that knife that he pulled out. He would never pull out a knife again on a random black person he ain't never known in his life. I'll tell you that much. However, safety is a very valid concern for people. For some of you aren't prior military. Some of you ain't probably did martial arts like I have. Some of you probably haven't grew up in places like I have in New Orleans. You have to be very vigilant, high alert, because it's New Orleans. Anyone who knows New Orleans, knows New Orleans. Or people, or you're not, just frankly, you might not be a 6'3", 300 some pound black guy like me. So you have very valid concerns about safety anywhere you go. If you have not been if you don't fit none of those things I talked about. Overall, Korea is safe. Now, recently, there are situations similar to that Korean gentleman, where crimes involving knives do happen here in Korea, which is typical in countries where people don't have guns. Knives tend to be the weapon of choice. Kitchen knives, or like the gentleman who's at the wing bar, they make their own knives out of tools, pretty much making shanks, and the things can happen. Especially here in Korea, there tends to be a lot of Korean men who tend to attack women. They stalk and attack women, and when they attack them, they stab them and whatnot. But then also, women do stabbings as well. But once again, I will consider this isolated incidents compared to American levels of crime. If you're Korean, you probably be like, this is ridiculous, and now I agree with you if you're Korean. But if you're non-Korean, if you're coming from a country like America or some other country where violent crimes happen very frequently, you will consider the levels of crimes that happen here in Korea not as severe. You'd be like, okay, that's cool, I can deal with that. Coming from where I come from, this is mediocre, right? If you look at it from that aspect. Now, I will say this, and I think it's very important. Wherever you go in the world, your safety should be your number one responsibility and taking accountability. Do not go anywhere in the world expecting somebody else to take your safety into much higher regards than yourself. If you want to be safe, then you should do everything in your power to ensure you're safe. And what you can do is, what is the perception people have when they look at you? So what that means is, how do you go out? How do you look? How do you present yourself? Like you hear about people in these they go to South America and end up getting robbed and murdered because they are wearing certain items that people in these countries view as symbols of wealth. What are you wearing that might be considered signals of these people got money? If that makes any sense, right? Because I will say this. Yes, we are black people, but black Americans, but the moment someone finds out you are American, they view you as you are wealthy. Yes, the poorest person in America is considered rich in these other countries. I've been to countries where the average monthly income for some people range between $250 to $500 a month. If you're leaving America, going to these countries with an iPhone, MacBook Pro, and wearing gold chains and whatnot, you looking wealthy to them. Yes, you are black, but you American and you walk around with items that's worth more than some people household annual income. So if you want to be safe, figure out I watched what's the baseline, right? How do people dress of the middle class in those countries? What type of things they do? Look at that and then mimic those type of appearances, so that way you kind of blend in. That way they see, okay, he's like, okay, he don't got money, because you are, I guess you're following how those people present themselves. So that right there will add to your safety. Number two, just like anyone who grew up in the hood. So in New Orleans, when I grew up, you had uptown, downtown, New Orleans, East, 7th Ward, 9th Ward, this and that. When you go to other people's parts of town, do you disrespect those areas? Do you follow the rules of that area? Do you know better, right? Because why? That's not your area. So you're gonna move accordingly. You're gonna move smartly. Same rules apply when you go overseas. You're from America, you're going to South America. Don't go hang out with South American gangs thinking, oh, okay, cool, I hung out with gangs in America. Y'all, they are not the same at all. So, number two, find out. Get you a friend. Like, if you're a guy, get a girl, but then even then, as rich, I don't know. Find you a local. Become friends with a local and have them educate you on how things go. Learn that way. I even would say, if you can't afford to, hire someone whose job is to teach you. Yeah, learning language is one thing, but that's just one aspect of understanding the land. Understand the cultures. Understand that, hey, this part of the country is different from this part of the country. These people view things different in this part of the country, but that comes from time and also working, actually being humble and getting with a person who will teach you how things go. So number two, you don't have home field advantage, therefore be humble, be quiet, and don't make too much loud noises until you understand how things go fully. And number three is, you just because I'll go like this. I have an African friend, right? Associate friend, and every now and then we'll meet up and talk, and we'll meet up for coffee or tea or go have lunch. And always in our conversation, he found, and my African friend is from Ghana, one of my Ghana, I'm talking my Ghanaian friend, and I have a Cameroonian associate. Every time in our conversation, they always tend to bring up the fact that I was Black American. Like, I kid you not. Some kind of way, they figure out how to slide in there. You Black Americans, okay, cool. Even though you and me think, okay, we both black, but then it dawned on me. Yes, they are right. I am Black American. They are Cameroonian. They are Ghanaian. They are Nigerian. One thing that Black Americans tend to fail to realize is that outside of America, other African diasporas have very strong cultural roots and group coherent uniformity. Whatever. They understand. No, yeah, I'm from the African continent, but I'm Ghanaian. I'm from the African continent, but I'm Cameroonian. I'm from the African continent, but I'm Nigerian. Black Americans, you're Black American. They don't see us all as one big pot because they identify themselves as the African country they come from, and I respect that 100%. Black American, when you go overseas, own the fact that you are American. Simple as that. Don't go to these other African diasporas, Haitians, Jamaicans, thinking, oh, we're the same, because they do not view you as the same. That goes even when you go to Korea. You're not Korean, clearly. So stop thinking they're gonna treat you like Korean and then you get your feelings hurt. Go in there, own, okay, you know I'm American, all right? But be humble about yourself, right? Don't go in and think, oh, I'm Korean. No, you're not. All right? And that's what a lot of y'all be doing. Y'all go overseas thinking this and that. Because here's the thing. You may think you have it hard in America. And I promise you, there's other countries where people have it way harder. And I say this all the time. You can't claim you oppressed texting from an iPhone. You can't claim you oppressed working on a MacBook Pro. You can't claim you oppressed when you wearing Jordans, when you wearing designer clothes and whatnot, because none of that shows oppression. In some of these countries, in the African continent, and even some of these poor Asian countries, there are people who do not have running water. There are people who don't even have banking access to any type of banking system. There are people who are using second-hand, third-hand cell phones that don't got no kind of special features on it. Some of these people still use flip phones. So, one part of your safety is to understand that yes, you do come from a privileged country. No matter how you want to chop it up, look it up, this and that. When you pull up that passport, that's who you are. So, don't go in here thinking, oh, you know, I'm Black American. I'm going to hang out with the people who's been oppressed here in these countries. Because I'm telling you right now, baby, you better not go hang out with those people who's oppressing these lesser than countries that you're going to. Because they going to see you as, oh, we see money. Because you do look like money. You have a passport. You left America, meaning you got money to leave your country. Some of these people can barely got money to pay for a bus in their own country, but you have money to leave your country. So that is a very important part on safety. Not just coming to Korea. You don't have to really worry about that type of stuff so much. But they still do remind your ass is American. But when you go to these other countries, like in South America, even some of these poor Asian countries, I'm telling you right now, those people, they can make you disappear. I've been to some of these countries in Asia, and I seen the cops get paid right there on the spot, and the cops let people keep it moving. Just saying. So, hope this video helped you out in safety in Korea, but overall overseas. Hey, make sure you like, man. Make sure you comment. Make sure you subscribe and share this. I'm not no passport bro. But hey, much respect to those cats. I'm not shitting on them. I see what they doing, and I see how they're gonna grow. You know, because I've been overseas since 2008. Because I was in the Air Force, right? And I'm separating from the Air Force April 5th, and I'm staying overseas. I'm staying in Korea, building a business, you know, and all that. You know, so if you're ever in Korea, holla at your boy. You feel me? Come holla at me. Come talk to me, and I'll talk to you guys later.